Who doesn't love a good revenge story? Let's learn about a historic one. So everybody knows in 1804, Aaron Burr shoots and kills Alexander Hamilton, and then he immediately flees. And then everybody's like, dude, you're actually vice president of the United States. You need to get back to DC. And he's like, you got a point. So he goes back up there, but after his term is done, he is politically done for. Nobody wants to elect a man who shot a man because he didn't get elected. So he ends up moving out west and doing this weird militia thing. And then Thomas Jefferson accuses him of treason, and everybody's like, it's not treason. And Thomas Jefferson's like, I just really don't like the guy. And so anyways, that happens, and then he's like socially done, and he's also like many politicians at the time, he's just in terrible debt, and he spends the next couple decades of his life being an absolute womanizer and sleeping with sex workers and writing about it in his journal. Now enter Eliza Jumel. Now Eliza was born into poverty, but she married very well, and together they built a pretty hefty estate of land in New York City. Now when her husband passes away after falling on his own pitchfork, she inherits the estate. Now how much is it worth? At the time, $1 million, which translated to today is about $19 million. So she is very, very rich. She's 58 years old, and 14 months later, she marries 76-year-old Aaron Burr. Why? Well, it's a marriage of convenience. Him, because she has a bunch of money and he doesn't. And her, because he has access to social circles that she's just never really been included in. Now, 4 months after they get married, they are separated. Why? Because Eliza discovers that Aaron Burr has spent $400,000. And she's like, that's it, I'm getting a divorce. And he basically says, good luck. At the time in New York, the only reason you could get a divorce is if you could prove adultery. And she was like, that's literally easy. You sleep with everyone. And he's like, fine, I'm going to countersue you and say that you committed adultery and you owe me money. What really becomes the deciding factor for these two in their divorce is who they hire as attorneys. Aaron Burr ends up hiring Charles O'Connor, who has a career of representing losers because later in life he represents Jefferson Davis after he's accused of treason for being president of the Confederacy during the Civil War. Who does Eliza hire? She has $1 million. She can hire the best divorce attorney in New York City at the time, but she doesn't. And here's where the revenge comes. Eliza ends up hiring Alexander Hamilton Jr. to represent her. And 3 years later, on September 14th, 1836, she is granted her divorce and told that she owes Aaron Burr nothing. Later that day, in the boarding house he's living in, Aaron Burr suffers 2 strokes and passes away. And that's something to think about the next time you think you had a bad day.